to the land of Israel, and your crops grow. So what do you do with the food? So you can enjoy it and you can eat it, but there's also a mitzvah that we do with the first fruits, and that is we bring it to the temple and we give it to the Kohen. Now that's a spoiler alert because I just told you what the reading is going to talk about, but there's a lot of beautiful insights into this reading. Here we go. I'm going to start reading and I'm going to give some commentary as we go along. And it will be, remember, this is Moses speaking to the people right before his passing. They're going to be going into Israel. He's not, and he's prepping them. And it will be, when you come into the land which the Lord your God gives you for an inheritance, and you possess it, and settle in it, so when all that happens, that you shall take of the first of all the fruit of the ground, which you will bring from the land which the Lord your God is giving you, and you shall put them, the first fruits, into a basket, and go to the place which the Lord your God will choose to have his name dwell there, i.e., Jerusalem, Yerushalayim, the holy city. So what Moses is saying is, when you go into the land of Israel, and you settle the land, and you possess and settle it, then when you grow, when the crops grow and the fruits grow, you take the first of the fruits, and you go to the Beit HaMikdash. You go to the holy temple. Text number 3. And you shall come to the Kohen, to the priest, who will be serving in those days, and say to him, I declare this day to the Lord your God that I have come to the land which the Lord swore to our forefathers to give us. In other words, it's a declaration that we've come to the land, and essentially, here's my gift. I'm paying it back. And the Kohen will take the basket from your hand, laying it before the altar of the Lord your God. Then there's a declaration, but before we get to the declaration, you know what? Let me do the declaration. We're going to go through the whole thing, and then I'm going to go back and give you commentary piece by piece. And you shall call out and say before the Lord. So again, the first thing that happens is you're farming. Then you get the fruits. Then you take the first fruits. Then you put them into a basket. Then you make a pilgrimage. You make a journey to Jerusalem. Then you find the Kohen. And then you tell the Kohen, hey, I'm here. I got the fruits, right? We got the land. You put the basket before the altar, and then you say the following. An Aramean sought to destroy my forefather. Somebody from Aram. It's referring to Laban, the uncle of Jacob. An Aramean sought to destroy my forefather, Jacob, and he went down to Egypt and sojourned there with a small number of people. Jewish people started off as 70. And there he became a great, mighty, and numerous nation. He is, again, Jacob. And the Egyptians treated us cruelly and afflicted us, and they imposed hard labor upon us. So we cried out to the Lord, God of our fathers, and the Lord heard our voice and saw our affliction, our toil, and our oppression. And the Lord brought us out from Egypt with a strong hand and with an outstretched arm, with great awe and with signs and wonders. And he brought us to this place, and he gave us this land, a land flowing with milk and honey. Nice. It's kind of the story of the Jewish people in a nutshell. And now, fast forward. And now, behold, I have brought the first of the fruit of the ground which you, O Lord, have given me. That's your declaration. So the declaration begins from this all the way over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 verses of declaration. And basically the farmer would encapsulate the story of Jewish history. We almost didn't start off. Laban wanted to kind of get rid of Jacob right away and undermine him. But we went through that challenge and we survived. We went down to Egypt and survived that challenge. And then you gave us the land, God. Here are the fruits. We're very grateful. This is a declaration of the story of how we got there. Then you shall lay it before the Lord your God and prostrate yourself before the Lord your God. Bow down. Then, after that, you shall rejoice with all the good that the Lord your God has granted you and your household, you, the Levite, and the stranger who is among you. Kind of a complicated translation there. But basically, after that, then you can enjoy the rest of your food. So let's explore this. Let's take a much deeper dive. Again, I want to give you the Hebrew name of this. I'm going to write it in the chat. The Hebrew name, I'll write it in English. The Hebrew name of this is called Bikurim. Oh, My keyboard is not working. No, it is now. I'm not working. No, I'm kidding. Bikurim. Done. It's in the chat box. Bikurim. Bikurim are the first fruits. So, farmer in Israel, first fruits, goes to the temple, makes a decoration, leaves it there, and then goes back home to enjoy the rest of the produce. The implication is that you can't rejoice with the rest of your food until you bring the first fruits. So no sneaking. No like, well, I'm not ready to travel, so I'm going to enjoy my stuff, and then maybe later on if I remember. No. The Torah says you got to take care of your responsibilities, you got to take care of the obligations, and those obligations include very specifically to make sure that you show up in Jerusalem by the temple and make the decoration. Okay, so when did this mitzvah kick in? When did it start? Not in the desert. It's a mitzvah specifically associated with coming into the land, into the land of Israel. Which means if you're a farmer in Iowa, a Jewish farmer in Iowa, or in Atlanta, if you have a farm or a garden, you do not need to bring the first of your fruits. There's no temple anyway, but you don't need this. The mitzvah doesn't apply outside of Israel. It's specifically an Israel-based, a land-based mitzvah. But when did it start? Understand my question? Let me explain my question. What year did it start? The first moment the first Jew crossed over the Jordan River and ended up in Israel, or did it start later? The answer is, our sages tell us, that no, it started 14 years after Joshua, who took over from Moses, first led the Jewish people into Israel. 14 years later, this mitzvah began. Why? Because the Torah says that you have to possess it and settle in it. And it took the tribes 14 years to fully conquer, possess, settle the land of Israel. Some tribes settled their land sooner, but other tribes, it took them 14 years. The Torah tells us that all Jewish farmers waited the full amount of time until everybody was settled. Are you with me on what I just said? Yes? Maybe? No? Okay. So again, Rashi. I'm just telling you what Rashi says. Yeah. This verse teaches us, Rashi says, that they were not obligated to bring first fruits until they conquered the land and divided it. That's the Talmud Kedushin 37b says that. So they did not become obligated until they conquered the entire land and divided the entire land amongst all the tribes, and that took 14 years. The Lubavitcher Rebbe asked the question. Very simple question. The question is, if some tribes settled their land and were farming their land right away, so why didn't they bring their first fruits right away? Why did they wait 14 years till everybody was settled until they brought theirs? Why not go on a case by case? Why make it a broad, only start until everyone's ready? Why not make it a case by case determination? And as soon as the first ones are ready, let them start doing this mitzvah. Why do we wait? And the Rebbe explains because the mitzvah is associated with rejoicing in the blessing from God. Rejoicing in the blessing. And the Rebbe says, if your brother or your sister has not yet settled their land, if their farm is not up and running, if they don't have food, how can you rejoice? How can you go to the temple and say, Baruch Hashem, thank you God, look what I have, I'm so happy, such gratitude, and now I can go home and eat and be happy and not be worried. How could you do such a thing? If your brother and sister, if your fellow tribe, if your fellow Jew doesn't have, if they're not settled, if their farm is not up and running, if they don't have what to eat, you're celebrating? No. The mitzvah is associated with the joy of the produce. And you can't have joy until your brother or your sister, your brother and your sister, are likewise taken care of. Does that make sense? That's the Rebbe's insight. So that's insight number one. Number two, the main thrust, or the main theme of Bikurim, this mitzvah, is all about gratitude. It's all about gratitude. It's like, instead of taking it for granted that, yeah, we have a land, and we have a field, and we have food, no, don't take it for granted. Count your blessings. So in life, we know this. We know today, psychologists will tell us, have told us, there are books about this, right? I mean, look, Torah, I think you can save money on a lot of therapy by studying Torah. Now, again, I only mean that, therapy is also good. But a lot of insights, psychological insights that we've come to in the last, 4 decades, a lot of it is straight up from Torah. Like the notion of, keeping a gratitude journal or being, pressing gratitude. We got this. We literally have this. Every day we say Moda Ani, we thank God for waking up and being alive. That's gratitude. And the farmers, it's canonized in Jewish law. It's one of the mitzvot. It's like set times for gratitude. Daily, annually, seasonally, you got to have gratitude. But the Torah, in addition to just telling us generally about gratitude is good, it specifically tells us how to practice gratitude. So now I'm going to share my screen with you one more time, or again, and yeah.
So for those that aren't farmers today, is that mitzvah still applicable, or is
even farmers today, you can't really do it because there's no temple. So like, what do you do?
Some of them we don't have.
So there's the physical thing wouldn't be done, but the Torah, spiritual, like the message of how we're supposed to feel about the blessings, right? That's timeless. And I want to share with you some specifics about gratitude that we can learn from the verses that we just read. But yeah, the physical mitzvah, bring a basket with the fruits, no. I mean, you could bring it to a neighbor or someone, you could do it. You could kind of like, mirror.
But so I'm saying, yeah, but one's not obligated to mirror.
Correct. It's not an obligation. Correct. I mean, right. But let's take a look at the specifics of how the gratitude practice of Bikurim works. So the first thing that you notice is that you're doing an action, right? A lot of people think that what's gratitude is a feeling in the heart. I have gratitude. I appreciate it. Nope. The Torah says, no, that's not gratitude. I mean, I feel like gratitude, but you know what gratitude really is? Take a basket, fill up your fruits, are you with me? Taking tangible action and start walking or hitchhiking or taking a wagon. I don't know, however they traveled back in the day. I don't know, I wasn't there. At least I don't remember. If I was, maybe, reincarnation and such. But the bottom line is, you got to actually show up in Jerusalem with a basket of fruit. It's like a real thing that you're doing. Gratitude is not just a feeling, a nebulous, vague, I feel it in my heart. No. I mean, but gratitude also demands action. Yeah, you feel appreciation, gratitude. No, what are you doing about it? That's it. All right, the next thing is... Mark is pointing out accurately that this is not for every farm in Israel. It's specifically regarding the 7 special foods of the land of Israel, which are wheat, barley, grape, fig, pomegranate, olives, and honey. But honey is also not honey, it's dates. It's basically olives and dates. Those would be it's date honey, it's not bee honey. So those 7 things, if you grow those 7 things, you have this obligation of Bikurim. Those are the 7 special foods that Israel is specifically blessed with. But getting back to this idea, it's not a vague or, theoretical feeling in the heart. It's a tangible action. In addition to that, there's a verbal declaration. It's one thing to feel, to appreciate someone and what they've done. It's another to let them know about it. You with me? It's another to tell them, you know what? I really appreciate you. I appreciate what you've done. But when you're writing, the way modern, psychologists speak about gratitude, you want to be specific. So look at this. Look how specific it is. The Torah tells us about specificity. It's number 1, it's not in the heart, it's an action. Show up with a basket. Number 2, verbalize, talk about it. And number 3, when you're talking about it, be specific. Be specific. Talk about the background. We have humble beginnings. There was the challenge of Lavan. Laban. There was a challenge of Pharaoh. We survived. God saved us. God saved us. And then you gave us an incredible blessing. You gave us to this place. You brought us to this place. You gave us a land flowing with milk and honey. It's incredible. You gave us all this stuff. And that's why I have the gratitude. That's different than saying thank you. We could say thank you from today to tomorrow, but thank you is kind of vague. It's like thank you. I'm not criticizing a thank you. I'm just saying that the Torah encourages us that when we say thank you, to be specific. Thank you for what? Look, we started off under threat of the Aramean, Laban. We started off under the threat of Pharaoh in Egypt. You rescued us. You shepherded us through the desert. You brought us to the land of Israel with all those miracles. And now you gave us this land flowing with milk and honey. And here are the fruits. My heart is overflowing with gratitude. That's a nice thank you. That's a specific thank you. So the power of gratitude is in action, in words, and in specifics. That's what the Torah is teaching us. And here's the kicker. This is like the final KO knockout punch in a good way. This is like the final culmination. You know what happens when we practice gratitude in our own lives? Then you will rejoice. The Torah says that the joy, the samachta, the simcha, the joy is only possible when we experience gratitude. Because otherwise we take our blessings for granted and they don't thrill us anymore. I once heard a bit from a comedian who got into trouble lately, so I'm not going to mention his name, but I'll mention the bit because the bit is instructive and you can learn a lesson from everything. So the bit was, he was saying how he got onto a flight. This is a few years ago. He got onto a flight and they announced, before taking off, they're like, hey, it was I think Delta or something, whatever. They said, announcement, surprise, we're piloting, we're trying out Wi-Fi. This is before Wi-Fi was everywhere. We're trying out Wi-Fi, so you can enjoy Wi-Fi in the flight. And everyone's like, wow, that's unexpected. Again, this is years before it became normal. So they were trying it out on some test flights, and that's it. And he's like, that's amazing. So they take off, and as they're cruising, 5-10 minutes into the flight, they make another announcement. Some sort of mishap, something went wrong, and we're shutting off the Wi-Fi for the rest of the flight. Apologies. So he says, the guy next to him says, it's ridiculous. He's muttering under his breath, how annoyed he is now. And his comment, the comedian's comment was, you're annoyed at something you didn't even know was possible 15 minutes ago. It's like you've taken it so for granted that now that it's taken away from you, now you're annoyed. You see, the point is how quickly we go from not even knowing of the possibility to knowing the possibility to enjoying it and to being taking it so for granted that its absence is the aberration. It's like, how dare you take it away? It's like, I'm going to call and demand a refund for my flight. It's like, who takes that away? Right? Never mind, the comedian says, never mind that you're sitting on a chair 30,000 or whatever is feet in the air, right? Flying, people get annoyed all the time, right? In airports, there's a delay. Ridiculous. How dare you? They yell at the gate person. They rip it as if they're the ones that are managing the whole operation. I always find that funny. It's like somebody's reporting the information, number one. Number two, as this comedian pointed out also, back in the day, to get from New York to California would take years. And it would take a caravan of people working together. And the people that the people that started off on the journey from the East Coast would not be the same people probably that ended up there at the end. It might be their children or grandchildren or whatever. Along the way things would happen. It wouldn't necessarily be the same people. And now we get there in 4 hours, 5 hours? And there's an hour delay and that's like a whole problem because we missed a meeting or something? I don't want to minimize. Everyone's got stuff. And we all have moments of tension and whatever, and stuff comes out that we look back later and say, but here's what we have to remember. The reason why we get annoyed at these things that objectively are amazing Nothing to get annoyed about. Amazing that we even have them to begin with. The reason why we get annoyed is because we didn't practice gratitude. Is because we didn't practice exactly what the Torah is teaching us. If we reminded ourselves, you know where we came from? I hope you understand what I'm saying. I'm explaining the Bikurim, why it's going back to Egypt. This is why. Remember before the internet. Remember when you wanted to get a message to somebody. Remember how difficult it was. Right? Remember this, that, or the other, and now God has blessed us with internet. And I know not only God, I also know, what's his name? Who else? Al Gore, I think, created the internet. Right? God created the internet. God has blessed us with the internet and with airplanes and technology and all these wonderful things, and I'm very grateful. So if the Wi-Fi from the flight doesn't work, Zal Zayin, let it be such. The reason why we get annoyed, first world problems, is because we're not counting our blessings, because we take it for granted, because we're not practicing gratitude. Their gratitude, meditation, and verbalization. It's not only enough to think it, you got to say it, and you got to act on it. Whatever that means. I'm not going to give you a specific, blow by blow what to do for each point of gratitude in our lives. The Torah gives us a general template. And when we do this, it's not only good for the other one, for the one that's helping either God or the other person that's helped us, that it's nice to acknowledge it. It's good for us. Even from a selfish perspective, we become happier people. We become literally happier people when we count our blessings. The Torah has timeless advice on every single level. So let's practice this I'm not literally leading a chant now, but I'm just saying, let's all of us practice this gratitude for Torah. Ashreinu matov chalkeinu. How fortunate and lucky we are that we have the Torah, that we have this incredible wellspring of wisdom, of insight, of human insight, of psychological insight, of spiritual insight and guidance that can navigate us through the trickiest of times. Mark, go ahead.
I want to add something where from you speaking and what I just read here, what we just read, I bench after every meal when I have bread, and when I don't have bread, I do the short bench. But the second paragraph, the first paragraph of when you bench, you thank Hashem for the food you got. But the second, I got my center out. We offer thanks to you, Lord our God, for having given us a heritage to our ancestors, a precious, good, and spacious land, for having brought us out, Lord our God, from the land of Egypt and redeemed us from the house of bondage. And that's what this is.
It's exactly that. Every time we eat, what Mark is saying is 100% spot on. In our prayer books, in our benchers, I was joking, I was benching, right? Whatever. Bench is Yiddish for bless. When we bench after a meal, when we thank God after a meal, after a bread meal, like the longer blessing, there's short ones for other foods, but when we eat bread, there's a longer version. There's 3 primary blessings. The first is thanks for the food. The second one is thank you for the land. And we talk about the land of Israel. We talk about how God took us out and gave us the land. And it's powerful. So the first was composed by Moses. The second was composed by Joshua. The first paragraph was composed by Moses for the manna that fell from heaven, thanking God for the food, for the blessing of the food. The second was by Joshua for the blessing of the gift of the land of Israel, which can then help grow food. And the third, well, you have to stay tuned to find out. The third is all about, the third is, here, let me open it up right here. The third blessing is about, well, it ends with a discussion about Jerusalem and the temple. So we thank God for not only the land of Israel, but also for the holy spaces. And although what's the connection between that and food? Again, it's all about joy and rejoicing and having and being blessed and acknowledging and gratitude. So, what's the summary? This is the main idea that I wanted to share today. Really one major focal point. Torah is not just about benefiting our souls. It's benefiting our bodies also. We are better people. We're happier people. Forget better. We're happier when we take into account the happiness of our brother and sister. Number one, right? 14 years, we wait. Right? We're there for the other person when they need. And when we acknowledge our blessings, we become happier people. It's the right thing to do, but it also has a benefit for us. That's it for today. Listen, I'm blown away by Torah, but you probably know that, right? I'm just saying, I know you are also. That's why you're here. Torah is amazing. It's incredible. You can't get this stuff anywhere else. I mean, you know, in the Chumash, in the Torah itself, but anyway. So that's it for today. Daily Power Parsha. Tonight, don't forget, Gemstones and Kabbalah. Also, number 2, if you have not yet signed up for the dinner, oh man, we have a killer menu delivered to your house or wherever you want it delivered. I mean, reasonably. All right? Don't tell me Alaska. Don't make it that complicated. But incredibly catered dinner. Meat option, fish option, vegetarian option. Whatever you want, we got this. 3 different menus. We have an all-star program. We have the chef will be speaking. I'll be speaking. We have a musical performance live. We have a live keynote address from England, musical performance from South Africa, with some surprises, incredible surprises. We have a beautiful program, online program, including a video with greetings from folks that you know, from classes and from our community, both in person and online. It'll be a video, but from both. Anyway, you don't want to miss this. It's Thursday night, September 10th. Get in while the getting's good. IntownJewishAcademy.org/gala. Every day I'm going to pronounce it in a different way. Today it's gala. The gala dinner. Join me. Be there or be square. Don't be square. Join me. Be there. All right, that's it. Otherwise, holidays are coming up. Check.
And the shofar.
Shofar. Oh, you know what?
Do you have one? Please?
Yes. I'm going to say yes because probably in the shul there is one. Give me a moment. I'll be back in a jiffy. One second.
You think we'd be able to learn how to blow it for the one class they're having?
Depends. It's not easy.
I found a bag of shofars.
Oh.
Who would have thought, right? Who would have thought that in a shul we would have shofars? Okay, let me do this.
I think shofar. Is that a
shofar? That's fine. Either way. No, it's all
It
good.
depends on the part of the country you're from.
Yeah. By the way, I actually dig this background. Are you guys digging it? It's nice, no?
Yeah.
Am I coming out clear? Or
How
is
does it feel to be back in the office?
It looks like you're on stage. You're performing.
And he is.
Life's a stage. All right, let's do this. It feels good. No, it's great. It's great to be back. All right. By the way, the second broadcast from this space will be tonight. Donna and I. All right. You ready? Let's do this. This is not my my weapon of choice. I mean my instrument, my usual instrument. So that's a caveat. I don't know how it's gonna go. I hope I don't blow it.
It'll be here all week.
Yeah. Try the veal. It's great. All right. You guys ready?
How large is the shofar that will be in the kit? Is it about that size?
Oh, so it's interesting. They have different sizes, and they told us they can't guarantee. It's not like small, medium, large. It's probably going to be right around this size. Maybe a drop bigger, maybe a drop small. It's going to be right about this size. These are finished shofars. We're going to do a class on it, on how to sound the shofar, how to blow the shofar, and yeah, should be fun. All right.
Can I ask the first question?
Yeah,
about
for sure.
About the shofar?
Sure.
Are women allowed to blow the shofar in shul, or just men?
Oh, in shul for the congregation?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I don't know.
That's what I thought. No.
I don't know.
I
I've
didn't see it on Chabad.
in
I'm
traditional
curious.
in the synagogues that I've been to, it was always the guys.
Yeah.
But if a woman, I think, if she's wanting to do the mitzvah or whatever, I don't think there's a problem at all with blowing it.
We're taking a class.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's
Yeah.
true. Go with our do-it-yourself book.
Yeah.
Okay.
DIY. All right. Great to see you all. Hope to see you soon. Don't forget, get in on that dinner. All right. We'll see you all. Take care. Have a wonderful day. See you later, alligator. All right.
Thank you.
Bye, all.
Bye.
See you.